KWT slaying.
Well, family, the wait is over. The moment has arrived where truth emerges triumphant from the shadows of history. Introducing the true Jerusalem, the lost kingdoms of the Israelites, the groundbreaking work by me, Jacoby Vale, a journey into the past that reshapes the future. I cut through centuries of misconceptions with piercing clarity. This book delivers a compelling case packed with evidence that commands attention and gonna get some respect. Come with me for a second, family, and discover how these thrilling civilizations flourished, protected by towering highlands and sustained by advanced engineering. Some have asked, where is Jerusalem? Is it the land in the Middle East? I say no. It is in the highlands of Ethiopia. With hours of groundbreaking research, this book brings in a new revelation, and it will transform your understanding of African history and its connections to the ancient world. It's going to remove from your mind the conditioning by the Romans of what has really happened to our past. Come with me, family, to the Ethiopian highlands and find out why this is our land. Why things have been hidden and obfuscated for centuries. We are royalty, children of the Most High. What kind of land do you expect us to have? Dried up dirt in the Middle East, or land flowing with rivers? A land full of beautiful animals flowing with milk and honey. Don't miss out on this monumental unveiling. Grab your copy today and stand on the side of truth. Visit Amazon.com or www.tailministries.com to purchase your book and join Jacoby Vale's teachings on Tail Ministries. Family, your journey to hidden history has now begun. So family, get your copy of True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites today. Journey into the heart of Africa, where history and legend converge to reveal the forgotten kingdoms of the Israelites and the true location of Jerusalem. Salama, family. Salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly, highly favored. So before we get started, give me one if I sound okay, two if not. All right, good. So just to give y'all a heads up right quick, so Minister Teyu's book is going to be coming out real soon, so get prepared for that. It's a historical book, and the title of it is They Always Knew We Were the Israelites, and Historians' Belief in the Black Ancestry of the Biblical Jews. So you better get it because things are moving so fast. You're not going to be able to wait. And I think we're on the edge. Let me say it this way. I think we're in the midst of everything. And when I say I think we're in the midst of everything, I mean that somebody say they don't hear me. I don't hear anything. Everybody's gave me a 1. So I think that might just, okay, let's see, 2 don't hear it. Somebody saying they don't hear anything. Let me double check. Okay, Brother Robert say I sound good. All right, cool. All right. You might want to check your connection, your headphones, your drivers or something, or reboot. So in the midst of everything, what I mean by that is that we're in the midst of all the prophecies, right? I mean, not every single one, but I'm like, just for this time frame, this period that I would expect, I'm living in a state of expectation. I'm living in a state of expectation. What do I mean by that? What I mean by a state of expectation is that I'm expecting for us to be leaving. I'm personally, I don't know what your understanding is. I'm expecting us to flee. Some of you all are expecting the second Exodus, which I believe is later. How later, I don't know. But I'm expecting us to flee Babylon. And so in the midst of everything, we're in the midst of so many biblical prophecies dealing with Revelation chapter 12, the upcoming Revelation chapter 13, the fall of Babylon. But hashtag ain't no 400-year prophecy, right? I think at this point, if you don't see it, if you don't get it, you're not going to get it, right? You're not going to get it. You're not going to understand, and you're going to be trying to hunker down in a burning house. And that's one thing Martin Luther King said, that he set us up in a burning house. And he did. It is not really his fault, though, really. Everybody was manipulated and played. So I don't really point the finger at him so much as I do with the establishment. So, you know how Eurocentric Christianity is. But understand what's happening right now. It's just happening so quick. I can't tell you what's next. I'm in a state of expectation. Now, how many of you all ever heard of Ron Wyatt? Ron Wyatt. If you heard of Ron Wyatt before, give me a 1. If not, give me a 2. Okay. I guess it depends on your age, right? Those who are upper, got a little age on them, little numbers on them, they heard of Ron Wyatt. And he was a Eurocentric Christian archaeologist. At least he claimed to be an archaeologist who said he went to Jerusalem, which is modern day Jerusalem, and went under the Temple Mount, and he saw the Ark of the Covenant, and he saw, supposedly blood on it or something like that, all that kind of craziness, right? And, not that the Ark of the Covenant is crazy, but his idea that someone would have put the Ark of the Covenant under the Temple Mount, and all of these, 3,000 years, nobody dug underneath the Temple Mount and found it. Come on now, really? Please. Right? But understand that Ron Wyatt, what he said was that the Ark was in the Middle East. Now, there was another story, and shout out to Brother Dante Forson, who covered that today, a little bit of it, about the Ark of the Covenant that was supposed to have been in Ethiopia, modern day Ethiopia, inside of one of the churches. Now, if you believe, as I believe, that what we call modern day Ethiopia is where true Jerusalem is, which I 100% plus believe, then it makes sense why the Italians tried to invade, the British tried to invade, right? Magdala War, and how come America even keep trying to get influence there, because that is where Zion is. Now, unlike the Middle East, right? Unlike the Middle East, there's historical biblical proof, not only that some of them folks there are the people, right? Our brethren, our cousins, but that the Ark was there. Now, why do I say the Ark was there? Why do I say the Ark was there? Because if you read my book, I'm going to have to push it, right? I'm going to push my book. If you read my book, you would know that they found temple artifacts on an island in Lake Tana. They had the trumpets, the silver trumpets, which looks just like the ones that you see in the relief, right? And they had the laver that held the blood for the sacrifices. They had many other artifacts for the temple in Ethiopia, modern Ethiopia, in Lake Tana. The name of the island was Tanakerkos. And as my brother Sean Judah says, and this is something we discussed on our last meeting, last Saturday, Lake Tana is the Sea of Galilee. Oh yeah, there's some evidence for that. But did you know there's like 30-something islands in Lake Tana? I didn't know Lake Tana was that big. I didn't know it was that big, but you got to understand, you have to believe somebody. Now, what you have to understand, which is, I find it very interesting, is that you have the awakening of the true Israelites, right, who were scattered around the world as slaves. In the land of their captivity, they shall what? Remember themselves. While at the same time, you have people who have taken on their identity in a fake land. So now all of a sudden in this fake land with some fake people, there appears to be this Ark of the Covenant that they divined. Now I'm going to show a little clip of this whole mess. But I find it interesting that you got the fake land with a fake people, then you got the real land with the real people. You got a fake Ark of the Covenant with a real Ark of the Covenant. I'm just saying. But let's just look at some of this stuff because, you know, like I say, I find it very interesting. So we'll look at some of redacted stuff on this, and we're going to look at some other things too. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, today is Bible being revealed, Bible being validated, right? The people being awakened, the land, true land being shown, the Ark of the Covenant being revealed, right? So let's look at some of this.
Shall we talk Ark of the Covenant? Because I've been waiting to talk about this all day. New CIA documents just resurfaced from 1988 that claims the Ark of the Covenant is real, and we have a location for it. Sounds like something out of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's true. And the CIA, according to these reports, says the Ark was confirmed to exist through remote viewing, describing a gold-covered chest guarded by powerful beings in an underground Middle Eastern chamber.
Now, there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on right now. So we have an Ark of the Covenant that they found through remote viewing. Okay, remote viewing is they call it a science, but is really witchcraft, right? It's familiarizing yourself with familiar spirits, if you know what I'm saying.
Joining us now to unpack this explosive story is Jason Shurka, author of The Pyramid Code. Welcome back, Jason. Two crazy big stories that I'm in love with. We talked about the Egyptian pyramids this week, earlier in the week with you.
So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit next is the Egyptian pyramids, right? Because I'm going to let you know what I think is happening, which is why I say get prepared. I'm in a state of readiness. That's all I'm saying. I can't tell you what to be in. I'm in a state of readiness based upon my understanding of scripture. Is something going to happen? I don't know. I think something's going to happen.
You. And now we've got the Ark of the Covenant. It seems crazy. First of all, what do you think this revelation means, this CIA document? And maybe I'll ask you, do you think they're also maybe releasing this information now to distract us from something else?
I'm very glad you brought that up because it was a point that I was going to share. And I'm sure people have different perspectives on it. But let's cover what this thing is first, and then we can go over, again, just the factual essence of what's going on here. What do we know? What are we being told? What could be false? And 2 times in a week, how does this connect to exactly what was written in the Pyramid Code? So we know that in the Pyramid Code document, it already spoke exactly about what was underneath the pyramids. Well, it spoke about the Ark of the Covenant as well, with its exact location, where you can find it, and what it entails. So what the CIA actually declassified in those documents.
So now what you have to understand is that the CIA, which is a Luciferic organization, which is a murderous type of thing, right? It's evil. Now, with the CIA getting involved in trying to find the Ark of the Covenant, you have to realize this is either true, which I know it's not, or it is part of a dialectic. It is part of a dialectic, right? It is a framework to understand the coming deception, the great deception. And you got to understand what's happening because it's moving very fast. We're going to talk about it, but let's listen a little more.
Documents, once again, is not new information. It's just a big organization, agency coming out saying, hey, look, this is what we did. And by the way, we did it like 40 years ago in 1988. So this project is called Project Sunstreak, like streaking the sun. And it's using something called psychoenergetics. So you called something called remote viewing. Remote viewing is essentially this thing that is weird to most people, but it's very real. I've worked with remote viewers before. A lot of agencies work with remote viewers to find things that they can't find through traditional mechanisms like missing bodies. I work with somebody named Patricia Mona. She found 30 missing bodies for the RCMP in Canada when they couldn't find it themselves. And it's all done through this really weird mechanism, but it works because these very big agencies actually use them.
Yeah, the CIA. The CIA has been using remote viewing for years.
For a long time. This is not.
All right, so we're going to stop it right there. So remote viewing, they're trying to make it like it's a science. But what remote viewing is, it is the occult. It is, communing with spirits. What spirits they're communing with, I'll leave that up for you to understand, right? But what we're dealing with here is the preparation for a big reveal. Now, what is that big reveal? That's interesting, right? I personally think that it is so bad. It is so bad. And like I say, I'm not trying to get anybody scared, but it is so bad that the deception is at an apex, right? And the establishment of the deception to establish the New World Order is here, right? And as someone just posted with the whole thing with the Ark of the Covenant and, Indiana Jones and, the temple, stuff like that. All of this was meant to prepare us for a grand deception. Now, you have to understand, if you know where the true land is, where the true Jerusalem is, the true Temple Mount, you won't be deceived, right? If you know who the true people are, you won't be deceived. But most people will be deceived because they believe that's the land and they believe those are the people. Now, what we have to understand is that this particular deception, which, them finding the Ark of the Covenant, supposedly, right, is in contradiction to the historical narrative of the Ark being in Ethiopia. And Ethiopia has a historical connection to the Ark of the Covenant. It has a historical connection to the Israelites, right? It has a historical connection to, quote unquote, Yahudim, Aways, Ezra Alawis that lived in that area. All right. So we have that along with something else that he mentioned, right? So we got this manifestation of a Ark of the Covenant of some sort that was found through remote viewing. Now, if you think the Most High is going to give the Ark of the Covenant to the Gentiles, not only to the Gentiles, but to Luciferic New World Order Gentiles, you are highly deceived. If you think the Most High is going to allow them to have the Ark of the Covenant before his people get access to the Ark of the Covenant or to hold the Ark of the Covenant, you are sorely mistaken. If you think that these Luciferic New World Order people who have persecuted, enslaved, and corrupted his people is going to have access to the Ark of the Covenant, you are in a delusion. So what is the purpose of this false Ark of the Covenant? I'm going to show you. Because I believe that we are in this end time deception that is going to be so strong that most people are going to be deceived, except the elect. Now, who you determine the elect is, that's up to you. I know who the elect is. It's the redeemed, born again, chosen people of Yah, the black folks, the Negroes, the true Ezra Alawis, the true Israelites of the Bible. And as I stated, right, in other shows, that all of these things would happen, but also what would happen, right? There's going to be this enslavement of mankind, but Israel's going to be saved out of it. But the rest of the world is going into captivity. I'm telling you, this stuff is crazy, but let's continue and we'll get there.
Team of researchers has just announced a groundbreaking discovery beneath Egypt's Giza Plateau, a vast complex of underground chambers, shafts extending nearly 2 kilometers under the famous pyramids. Italian Scottish researchers claim they discovered a vast underground city under the pyramids. It's an unbelievable story using synthetic aperture radar. So, and why now? Like, how they just discovered this now? Really? Jason Shirka is the host of the Pyramid Code on Unified TV, who's been watching this very closely and, of course, has a lot of thoughts about this. So we invited Jason here on the show to talk about this and have a conversation. Jason, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. So when you heard this news, over the past few days, when the Italian video was released and you have to go through the subtitles and sort of unpack all of this, and I saw it on X, I said, I'm sorry, hold on a second. There's a massive underground city underneath Giza that's 3 kilometers deep, hundreds and hundreds of meters wide. Like, what? What did you think when you heard this?
So what I'd like to do is actually break down a few facts for everybody, because everybody's hearing this news from a bunch of different sources. Some is true, some isn't. Nobody really knows what to think. But what I thought when I first saw it was, thank God, finally somebody is speaking about this, because what you're hearing now is nothing new. As a matter of fact, the study, or so-called the research that these Italian researchers did, their names are Corrado Malanga, I believe, and Filippo Biondi. They're both researchers in the radar and remote sensing research aspect of things. And they actually published a peer-reviewed study, and they researched in an article titled Synthetic Aperture Radar Doppler Tomography Reveals Details of Undiscovered High-Resolution Internal Structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. But guess when that was actually put out? It wasn't a few days ago. That research was put out in 2022. So my question, number one, why are we speaking about it now if it came out in 2022?
Right. Well, that is a great question. Do you have an answer as to why we're just learning about this now? I mean, and I know you have documented a lot of this going back years. And in fact, there's recorded information going back to, I mean, wherever you come down on this, I don't know. But Billy Meyer, in his contactee publications in 1953, and this is verifiable, by the way. This is copyrighted, verifiable information of Billy Meyer specifically talking about going underneath, being transported in a beam ship and going underneath the pyramids in a massive underground chamber. Now, you might laugh at it, but it was published in 1953. I mean, so why are we learning about this now, Jason?
So a lot of people knew about this stuff. I mean, you know, if you grew up in the conspiracy circles, you've heard about the underground, parts of the pyramid. You've heard about the pyramids being used as a power station. You've heard, if you've watched Stargate, that the pyramids were used as a docking station for UFOs and aliens, right? And what you need to understand why it is happening, along with the revelation of the quote unquote supposed Ark of the Covenant, if you listen closely, this is the externalization of the hierarchy, right? Margaret Sanger and all those different people, and whatever the woman name who wrote the book, I forgot. But this is the externalization of the hierarchy. So what they're doing, they're taking the Ark of the Covenant, which is tied to the biblical covenant people, and they're putting a mystical, occultic, Blavatsky, that's it. Thank you, Grateful. They're putting a mystical, occult image or idea behind the Ark of the Covenant, as well as with the Egyptian pyramid. If you notice with this guy, he said, for both of them, remote viewing. So you got to understand that they're playing a game, and you got to understand why this is being played. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about other prophecies that's happening, everything that's coming to pass. I can't even cover everything. I'm sorry. I just can't. It's too much. But hey, this is what I expected, right? This is what I expected. But, there's a lot of people who are not going to see it. Why? Because the wicked will not understand, and some of y'all are wicked. The wicked will not understand, but the wise will understand. So let's look a little bit more at this, and we're going to talk about what the agenda is, or possible agenda.
One has finally made their way down the shafts that were found under the pyramids in Egypt. Clutch your pearls, girls, because now you're telling me that as of today, Dr. and archaeologist Rami, I'm not even going to try to say his last name because I don't want to be disrespectful to the Egyptian culture, is the first human being to make his way to the bottom of the shafts underneath the pyramid and has reported back what he found in the chamber at the bottom. And it is mind-blowing. Now, like always, take what you will, leave what you won't. I have purposely not talked about this topic yet because I like to have my facts backed. But as of today, allegedly, archaeologist Rami, I'm not going to try the name again, has made his way to the bottom, and what he found there was perfect blue like water chambers, I guess is what I'm referring to them as, with the most beautiful blue color water that he's ever seen in his life, with preserved humanoid body-like creatures in the water, with, as he describes, the most crystal clear blue color in their eyes that he has ever seen. Now, once again, anything we talk about is for conversation, learning, entertainment purposes only. But have you heard this? Because I've now read 10 different reports and seen multiple videos all over social media, all over the different forums, and they're all claiming the exact same thing. So tell me, have you heard this? Because this is going to shake up history and the truth of our world like nothing else. So let's have.
So these people are Satan's evangelists, and they're here to prepare the mind for the acceptance of some revelation. Whether there's going to be these UFOs, because you keep hearing about the UFO alien agenda, you keep hearing about the drones, you hear all of these things. Now you got the Ark of the Covenant, and what's going to happen is the plan is to merge all of the religions. See, that's why all of this is coming out together at one time. The plan is to merge all of the religions into a universal New World Order globalist religious system, and this system is being put in place right now. And this system is being put in place by dictatorship. Now, also what you have to understand is that, back in the early 90s, there was this guy named Sergei Monas. Let me bring this up right quick. All right, so in his 1994 work, Project Bluebeam, NASA, Canadian journalist Sergei Monas outlined a conspiracy theory alleging that NASA, in collaboration with the United Nations, planned to establish a new world order by orchestrating a technologically simulated second coming. This plan, according to Monas, involves several stages designed to manipulate and control global populations. The first stage, as described by Monas, entailed the deliberate creation of artificial earthquakes at specific locations worldwide. These engineered seismic events were purportedly intended to lead to the discovery of ancient artifacts, particularly Egyptian. Now, hey, we didn't have an earthquake, except we did have an earthquake in Myanmar, but, not in Egypt, right? But we're seeing that Egypt is where this discovery of ancient artifacts underground, underneath the Egyptian pyramid is happening, right? Supposedly. So that would challenge and undermine existing religious beliefs. The revelation of such artifacts was meant to prompt individuals to what? Reevaluate and question the foundations of their faith, thereby destabilizing traditional religious structures. See, this is what's happening right now. This destabilization would, in theory, pave the way for the introduction of a unified New Age religion serving as a cornerstone for the establishment of the New World Order. Monas' theory suggests that by eroding traditional religious paradigms through these staged archaeological discoveries, the orchestrators could more effectively implement a centralized global governance under the guise of this new universal belief system. It's important to note that these claims are widely regarded as unfounded and lack credible evidence, right? During the time, they said it was fake, but today we see he wasn't lying. And this explains why they remote viewed, according to them, the Ark of the Covenant. This is why they also found this particular underground city underneath the Egyptian pyramid. And this particular guy that you saw, he talked about remote viewing for the Egyptian pyramid as well. Why? Because it's bringing you into the occult religious system, but hashtag ain't no 400-year prophecy. So along with all of this externalization of the hierarchy, the revelation of the method, right, which is occult, we have this implementation of the dictatorship here in the United States, which is going to spread around the entire world. We have a king who made himself king in America and put himself on a throne. And don't try to leave the country and don't try to get back into the country and have anything said about the king, lowercase k, because they might put your butt in a detention facility. They might arrest your butt, whether you're a citizen or not. I told you when they were going after birthright citizenship, they were coming after us. All of this is because of us, but if you believe the scriptures, the pit that they dig for us is the one that they're going to dig in. As a matter of fact, there's a protest happening April 5th against this person who claimed to be a king, right? There's a protest and Negroes ain't gonna be there. Y'all bet not go. Because them folks are going to protest the president of the United States. He ain't my president. But them folks want us to participate in this protest, but we're not going to do it. Why? Because it's not our fight. Why? Because we understand, whether we know we Israel or not, that this is a con, this is a setup, this is all a trap. What? To get to the Israelites. Why? Because the scripture says they're going to look for Israel's guilt and not find it. Well, Jacobo, what does it mean that they're going to look for Israel's guilt and not find it? What it means is they're going to look for Israel's sin, Israel's iniquity, and thereby use that against Israel and make Israel guilty once again before their Elohim, so that we can be judged and we can be oppressed and deleted. But because the Most High is talking to his people, whether they woke or not, Our people are saying we're not participating in the April 5th protest. That's y'all business. It's not ours. That's y'all business, and we're not participating. But understand, we are in the midst of history repeating itself. We are in the midst of another Hitler rising to power. We are in the midst of another Inquisition. We are in the midst of Revelation 12. We are in the midst of the dragon chasing the woman. Oh, I know y'all don't believe me. It's okay. You'll see.
Out the bag. If you got a hoodie on, take it off. Take it off. How many times did I get touched? Sir, is this a bag? Slide it down. You see this young lady? Take your laptops and electronics out the bag. If you got a hoodie on, take it off.
Welcome to the new America, y'all. They fussing at you. Take your hoodie off. If you don't act right, you might to not on them. You might be going to El Salvador. You might be going to prison with the Venezuelan gangs. Oh, but I'm a United States citizen. It don't matter. If you don't have your papers, you might be going to El Salvador. Does that not remind you of what happened with the brown shirts and the Nazis and everybody? May we see your papers, please? And if you don't have your papers, guess where you going? So instead of them being called Nazis, instead of them being called brown shirts, they are called ICE. Ice, ice, baby. Too cold. Ice, ice, baby. Y'all know the black and gold. Come on, I'm just joking. I ain't no frat. I'm just bringing back some memories, just messing with y'all, because I know some of y'all gonna be all sensitive. But we are here dealing with the takeover of America. We're here with the establishment of the deception, the global deception of the false Ark of the Covenant, this false archaeological find underneath what they call the Egyptian pyramid. But, it is what it is, and you must be in a state of readiness. That's what I am. I'm in a state of readiness.
In the parking lot, immigration agents everywhere in the parking lot, stopping cars. They're everywhere in the parking lot, stopping cars, asking them for their papers. Oh my God, ICE, this is ICE.
May I see your papers, please? Y'all think we're not back in the Nazi Germany? America's been taken over by right-wing evangelical white supremacist Christians. At least that's what they call themselves, whatever that means. I mean, Christianity in and of itself was a fake religion anyway. The Bible's true. The word of Yahuwah is true. But the way they implemented the word and, taught it to people is a deception. But as I said, hashtag ain't no 400-year prophecy.
And listen to this. This is one of the most terrifying things I have ever heard. And we have heard some messed up things over the past 2 weeks, but this one probably wins. The president of El Salvador has made an agreement to take deported immigrants from the US and put them in prison there, regardless of what country they're from. If you don't think that's bad enough, here's the next step. They are also going to take American citizens. Let me repeat that. They are going to take American citizens into the worst prison system on the entire planet. Take some guesses about who they could be targeting. If you don't think this is serious, you have a problem. The stuff that is going on in this country is so incredibly messed up. And this is one more horrifying thing. And I don't know how much worse it can get. Stop.
So they already took a U.S. citizen. He happened to have been, I think he was Cuban, or he could have been Venezuelan or whatever. And he had a tattoo on his arm of a, what they call it. I think his brother had Alzheimer's, not Alzheimer's, ADD or something like that. And they sent him there until he was able to prove that he was a citizen of the U.S., right? Y'all think they're not coming for Negroes? I'm just saying, yeah. Can y'all see yourselves fleeing now? I'm just asking. It seems to me, I think y'all get a better understanding of why the Most High says flee, so that the judgments that's on Babylon won't fall on you.
Take your laptops and electronics out the bag.
All right.
If you got a hoodie on, take it off.
So all of this is becoming dictatorial, right? All of this is becoming, there's no constitution, right? There's no constitution to protect you anymore because nobody's following the constitution. Nobody's following the laws.
Seen it yet. Jason Stanley, fascism scholar and Yale professor, has fled the United States for Canada in fear that the United States is falling into a fascist dictatorship. Jason Stanley is the author of How Fascism Works. He wrote it in 2018 and called the MAGA movement fascist 2 years before other notable fascism scholar Robert O. Paxton called MAGA fascist after the January 6th attempted coup. Now, it is notable that Jason Stanley is leaving the United States for two very specific reasons. The first is that his book is one of the best books to get started on understanding what fascism is and what it does. So if you need to learn those things still, I highly recommend getting his book or at least checking it out of your local library. The second part that makes it notable is that Stanley's grandparents fled Berlin in the 1930s in order to avoid and escape fascistic Germany. So for that reason, Stanley is drawing comparisons from one fascistic movement to the other and the policies of the government therein. A very loud and a very clear statement about what people who know what they're talking about think about the government that we're currently allowing to rule us.
So as I stated, you have the rise of Nazism 2.0. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you.
Now to a controversial bill winding its way through the Florida State Senate. It would allow some 14-year-olds to work the overnight shift, a move critics say prioritizes filling labor shortages over the well-being of vulnerable children. CBS's Manuel Bajorquez is in Homestead, Florida, with the story.
Florida's crackdown on hiring undocumented workers started 2 years ago, a law signed into effect by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, who last week acknowledged a tightening workforce.
Why do we say we need to import foreigners, even import them illegally, when, teenagers used to work at these resorts?
A Florida Senate bill would remove restrictions on 16 and 17-year-olds, allowing for overnight shifts longer than 8 hours during school days, more than 30 hours during school weeks, and remove mandated meal breaks. It would also lift those restrictions on 14 and 15-year-olds who are homeschooled or attend virtual classes.
This is a parental rights issue, and frankly, we're not talking The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. We're talking about them working at Publix, at Piggly Wiggly.
This comes as Florida has about 77 available workers for every 100 open jobs, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But at Paradise Farms in Homestead, farm manager Brendan Sutton does not believe easing restrictions on child labor is the answer.
That's what this bill is designed for, to take advantage of poor people for the benefit of rich people.
Do you see a world where a parent who's undocumented doesn't feel that they can freely go out to work, may want to send their child to do it instead?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting to the crux of the matter. Like, we've been promised this mass deportation, and now the business class is wondering, what are we going to do to replace our cheap labor?
Florida Policy Institute's Alexis Tsoukalis is against the bill.
that's really going to be an unfair choice between school and work, when really we should be keeping these guardrails in place so there's a proper balance.
She says.
So what do y'all think of this? I mean, it seems to me to align with the idea of Gentiles going into captivity. I'm just saying, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, I warned y'all. Well, Jacoba, y'all here too. Y'all gonna have to go into captivity. Yeah, they're targeting us. Don't get it twisted. We know this. We are the target. We are the target, but we're leaving. We're leaving. That's assumed if you believe the scriptures. So far, the scriptures have been hitting 100 plus. The scriptures, once you know who the people are, once you know where the true land is, you understand the scriptures.
And of course, we can't end without talking about you-know-who, Elon Musk. Known for his unfiltered takes, the billionaire is once again pushing the limits on work-life balance, this time by boasting that employees at his White House-backed Department of Government Efficiency are clocking in a whopping 120-hour work weeks. Now, according to Musk, bureaucrats are losers for working 40 hours a week and never in the office on the weekends. This latest workaholic manifesto follows similar controversial remarks by Indian business leaders advocating for a 70 to 90-hour work week. But Musk, never one to be outdone, has set the bar for pure exhaustion. Our next report dives into the controversy.
Elon Musk has never been one to filter his thoughts. Whether he's naming his child something that sounds like a Wi-Fi password, live tweeting business decisions that cost him billions, or challenging Mark Zuckerberg to a cage fight, the man loves saying things that make the internet collectively raise an eyebrow. His latest gem, declaring that working weekends is a superpower. Employees of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, are already doing that, which is why the government bureaucrats are losing so fast, because they dare to enjoy a 40-hour work week. His words, not ours. Musk, who leads Tesla, SpaceX, X, and now the White House's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, recently bragged that his new government task force is clocking in 120-hour work weeks. That's 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. Apparently, bathroom breaks and sleep are for the week. Musk wrote on X that very few in the bureaucracy actually work the weekend. So it's like the opposing team just leaves the field for 2 days. Working the weekend is a superpower, he stated, because nothing says government efficiency like a billionaire trashing weekends on a platform he owns. Musk has been on a hiring spree. He's looking for what he calls super high IQ small government revolutionaries. Musk wants employees who are willing to work over 80 hours a week, doing the thrilling job of cost cutting. No word on whether there's an employee discount on therapy bills. Of course.
So what do you think of that, right? I mean, he wants you to work 120 hours, right? America has been taken over by the oligarchs, the rich folks, the billionaires. Elon Musk, the owner of SpaceX, Tesla, and X, which is formerly Twitter, wants you to work as a slave. But the Bible says that those who enslaved you are going into what? Captivity. And now we're seeing it. Why do you think the smart cities are being built? That is your modern day cage, your open air prisons. Why do you think, as I showed you in other videos, they put the barbed wires inside of the fence? Why do you think Trump is making Canada and Mexico an enemy? So that they won't allow you in. Understand, these are Luciferic occult initiates. These are Freemasons. and whatever other organization they belong to. And understand that when Elon Musk did his Nazi salute, he knew what that was. He knew what that meant. When he transitioned the name from Twitter to X, he knew he was using occult symbolism. In occult traditions, the X symbolizes crossroads or a point of decision. It represents a place where different paths intersect, which can also be linked to spiritual choices. He knew that what he was doing was an occult symbol. SpaceX, Twitter, X. This is a time of transition at the crossroads. Now, remember, who did the artists meet at the crossroads? Y'all know who the artists back in the day met at the crossroads. Can we say Satan? This is the time that the Bible spoke of right before the exit of the true Israelites. Oh yeah, I told you I'm in a state of expectation. I'm in a state of expectation. That's why I got my passport ready, whether I need it or not. Got to make sure I get my mom's passport because she's going to have to roll with me. Because I'm in a state of expectation. I'm expecting to what? Flee. While all of these prophecies are coming to pass, most of the world have no idea what's happening. Hashtag ain't no 400-year prophecy.
Now, it may sound like the stuff of science fiction, but a paralyzed man from Arizona has had a microchip implanted in his brain that allows him to control a computer with his thoughts. Noland Arbor was injured in a diving accident, but now, after years of being totally dependent on others, Noland says his life is transformed.
Welcome back, everyone. We've all seen movies like The Matrix, which show characters who can blur the line between man and machine. In our current reality, some are on the same journey, putting technology inside of their bodies with microchips. But how high are the risks, and what are the rewards? And what could this mean for our collective future?
In an instant, Nolan's life changed, and the most basic tasks were not doable.
You just have sort of no control, no privacy, and it's hard. And you just have to learn that you have to rely on other people for everything.
But 8 years on, Noland became the first person to get this brain device from Neuralink, a US neurotechnology firm whose founder is Elon Musk.
I just imagine the sensation or what it might look like to wiggle my fingers, something along those lines, and I could get the cursor to move. Now I could actually control my computer with just my thoughts.
A handful of other companies have also developed and implanted similar chips. So how do these brain chips work?
The device is sitting in the motor region of the brain. It's picking up when someone's thinking about like tapping their fingers. It can create what we call a digital motor output. And that's what's being used with a computer directly to click on things.
Back in Arizona, Noland hopes his brain power means a fulfilling future.
When you guys...
So what he don't understand, first of all, in my opinion, this is the mark of the beast or leading to the mark of the beast. Understand that if they can send commands to his brain to click a button, move a mouse, they can also send a command to his brain to do anything else and to have any other thoughts. They can infiltrate his being and his consciousness because they have access to his brain. They control him. He is what? An NPC, a non-playable character. He's inside of a video game. He's inside of a virtual system. This is where they want everyone. They want everyone to be part of this transhumanist agenda.
come together every year. What is the big wish list item that you all hope to one day make?
The thing everyone wants is Neuralink. It's frustrating because it's out there, but we don't know how it's built. So if Elon was willing to open source all of his stuff like we do, that'd be great. It works on the premise that your brain's electrical signals can interface with a computer's electrical signals. That is the dream. That is the Johnny Mnemonic, everyone's favorite movie in biohacking.
Biohacking. Can we say mark of the beast? Can we say once you get the mark of the beast in your right hand or in your forehead, you cannot buy, trade, or sell, and at that point you can no longer be saved, and there's going to be judgments and plagues on those who receive the mark? Oh, don't get it twisted. We're here. Don't get it twisted. You're going to be part of the Board Collective, or you're going to be part of Yahuwah's kingdom. And as part of Yahuwah's kingdom, you might have to go through some trials and some tribulations, but you will be saved out of it.
Upload begins when you press here.
Or uploading information like in the Matrix.
Cozy.
I know Kung Fu.
There's definitely potential.
In real life transhuman hacker himself, Len No joins us. Len.
Thank you for having me.
I've got a quick question.
So as she said, this is transhumanism. This is the mark of the beast. This is where the beast gets access to your temple. Sitting in the temple of Yah, claiming to be Yah. Everybody been talking about this for years. I hope you know this.
Question to just kick things off. Why?
Well, that is that's usually the big question. It actually started with the concept of why not? Okay. So, to be honest, this was more of a progression. You don't live a pretty normal, vanilla life and then just wake up one morning and say, wow, today's the day I'm going to start shoving microchips in my arms.
Yeah.
So for me, it was more of a progression. I started with tattoos, got into standard body modifications, piercings.
So the introduction to the transhumanism was tattoos. See, I told y'all don't get no tattoos. The Bible speaks against it. The introduction and the transition is from tattoos to body piercing, body modification, to chip implants. So you don't mind becoming a part of the Board Collective. You don't mind becoming transhumanists because in their minds, because they're all Luciferians, whether they know it or not, in their minds, they want to become gods. Now, their idea of a god is sort of like the idea of a god in anime, where you're overpowered. You have these powers. You're stronger than the average human, right? And so you're part of this elite status of those who rule the world. Can we say Nephilim?
Standard augmentation.
I've got a tattoo. Does that mean I'm going to get chipped up?
Well, that depends. You know, if you're fortunate enough to get it, you never know.
Oh my! What can you run us through your setup? Is that right?
What are the specs?
Yeah, what are the specs? What implants do you
I'm
have?
one of the few people that actually comes with my own hardware list. So this would actually be the largest one.
Whoa. That looks like a Jats cracker. Is that right?
Jazz, what is it?
This is an NFC and RFID implant. So this allows me to actually interface to the same technologies on your cell phones that you use to tap to pay with. I can also use it to get into physical restrictions like your badging system in this beautiful building. I could skim one of your cards, write it down to one of my implants, and just walk up and open the door.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
But when you say that, right, so if you skim the card, then how are you entering that
I need an additional tool, but most of the time I can get away with just...
When you say additional tool, you mean a computer?
You notice there's not many Israelites, right? Not many people of color either. It seems to be them folks. I mean, what is it? What is it with them? I mean, what is this proclivity to anything that's anti-nature? Why is everything with them artificial? I'm just asking.
No, most of the time I mean my cell phone. I can actually program these on the fly.
Sorry, so what you're saying is you can walk into a secure building, like say this one, and just find your way in.
Yep.
With your cell phone and your
I
fancy
wouldn't bring the cell phone with me.
You just do that just by
I would skim the card, like hypothetically, you know, you have amazing staff here that are just lovely people, you know, but I've watched them sit there and badge in. If I was able to skim one of those cards, I would leave this building, write it down to one of the implants, leave all of my cell phones, all my electronics outside, and I would basically walk into your building.
Okay.
If I was caught.
So let's tell everyone what they're dealing with here. Okay, because what he's not telling you is that it's constant 24-hour monitoring of where you're at. Not only is it constant 24-hour, 7 days a week monitoring of where you're at, they're going to know what you're doing. They're going to know if you're taking a dump. They're going to know if you're having sex. They're going to know if you're eating. They're going to do all this. They don't... And you're gonna end up losing free will.
The fact that these are inside my body actually gives me protection under medical privacy laws to the point where the authorities can't even ask me about them.
Oh, we need to change those laws. Okay, but hang on. Okay, right.
Y'all hear this, right? Privacy laws where the authorities can't ask them. The authorities won't have to ask them. The authorities gonna just scan his butt and get all his data, where he been, what he did for the day, what he ate, when he took a dump, when he ate, you know, when he did whatever. Do you not know they already have technology to read your mind, to read your thoughts? Once you have this chip implant in you, not only are you going to hell because it's the mark of the beast, but they're going to know everything you're thinking. They can already do that. Hashtag ain't no 400-year prophecy there.
All right, okay. I get this. I get you saying you're using it for good.
Yes, sir.
What I don't get is why any human should be allowed to have that capability.
Well, the ability for self-experimentation goes all the way back to Isaac Newton. So a lot of the greatest medical benefits that we've actually have in the modern age were originally started by people experimenting on themselves.
But I do believe that we are very early in that science. We are still learning about how the brain works in general. So the idea that a brain-computer interface, something that you would implant into the brain, can reveal these benefits, I think it would be really difficult because there's so much that we don't know.
When it comes to Neuralink, though, at the grassroots level, the level where the grinders are, there's a lot of concern about putting something inside the brain that will be collecting information directly from your body in such an intimate way. That technology being owned and operated by some kind of external entity is a source of profound concern.
I feel like the first people that can afford implants are going to be the millionaires. And a lot of the reason why the grinders do what they do is so that the technology can be for everyone.
Grinding and biohacking is so invested in the DIY model because it puts the technology and the information in the hands of the makers to share their vision of the future.
I genuinely believe that a lot of what's going on here helps trans people, disabled people, elderly people in the rest of the world, because we're thinking about, okay, what is it like when your body isn't working the way it's supposed to?
I'm trying to do blood glucose using vibrations with a small passive implant. This is the bleeding edge. People taking their own autonomy into their hands and moving biomedical science and engineering forward.
This is the place where you can show up and have some wacky idea and someone will go, no, actually, we can make that real and we're going to do it now.
What do you say?
And he calls it all, both strong and great, rich and poor, free and bound to receive a mark in their right hand or forehead that they won't be able to buy, trade, or sell unless they have the mark, his name, or the number of his name. Do y'all think we're here yet?
Say to those people who might think this is insane,
To someone who thinks it's insane, I would probably say, just come hang out with us for a bit. I bet you any money by the end of the weekend, you're going to leave with a microchip.
Again,
By the end of the week, you might leave with a microchip. By the end of the week, you might have the mark of the beast. By the end of the week, you might be under eternal damnation. But hey, the Israelites don't know what they're talking about. We've been warning y'all for how many years now? Understand that we are in the times that the Bible spoke of. We are in Jeremiah 50, approaching 51. We are in 2nd Ezra 15, about to happen. And we can see some of that here right now.
Good evening, friends. Stephen Benoon. We are watching Israeli News Live. The Houthi rebels have struck Ben Gurion Airport in Israel. You can see some of these missiles here going off there, coming in, smaller missiles coming in, but it was the hypersonic Houthi missile that struck the Ben Gurion Airport. Here it comes. See it? The Houthi rebels used a hypersonic missile, and it did hit the Ben Gurion Airport. Don't know exactly where it hit. It doesn't look like too large of an explosive right there, but it did hit the Ben Gurion Airport. We'll play it again.
So according to the scriptures, this particular war that's in Jeremiah 50 and 51, right? Because it appears to be the same event as we see in 2nd Ezra 15. It's going to start in the Middle East, right? It's going to start over there. So, and it's going to start between the dragons of Arabia, which I believe to be them, for, the ones who stole identity, and between the Persians, who's the Iranians, and I believe that Russia's going to get involved as well, right? And China. So we got to understand that prophecy is moving along so fast that we don't have time to keep up with it anymore. And in the midst of everything is all of the prophecies coming together at one time. All of the prophecies seem to be coming to fruition. Now, eat the meat, spit out the bones, take it for what you want, flee, don't flee, stay, run, what? It's up to you.
So Europe is getting ready for war and it wants its citizens to prepare too. Brussels has issued guidelines for all 450 million Europeans. 450 million people across all 27 member states. Every household has been asked to maintain a survival kit to stock up on things like bottled water, canned food, a torch, and basic supplies like toilet paper. This stock should last for at least 3 days.
I hope this is a typo. Jacoba and the Pope is about to die. I'm not about to die. Maybe the Pope about to die, not me. I hope that's a mistake right there. You might want to correct yourself.
That is the instruction. It is part of a new European strategy for preparedness.
Today's threats facing Europe are more complex than ever, and they are all interconnected. The battlefields in our pockets, our phones, our computers, our power plants, our banks, our supply chains, our raw materials, and in the media, the social media we consumed every day. These are all battlefields, and they are being weaponized to threaten our European way of life and our democracies.
Brussels wants Europeans to be ready for anything. A war, cyber attacks, extreme weather events like floods or wildfires, even a major disease outbreak. Europeans must be self-sufficient, at least for the first 72 hours of any crisis. That is the key message of Europe's preparedness plan. Top EU leaders are urging people to act on it. They're suggesting keeping an emergency bag ready at home.
It's Ajalabi. Welcome to What's in My Bag Survival Edition. My document in a waterproof pouch, a must in a rainy Brussels. Let's talk about lighting. I have a flashlight and, of course, the light. Turn. And my special friend, a Swiss Army knife, and of course some cash. In the middle of a crisis, cash is king. A charger and a power bank, because a dead phone is a dead end. This is everything you need to survive the first 72 hours of a crisis. Speaking about being prepared, the EU is preparing its strategy to be sure that every citizen is safe in case of crisis. Be prepared, be safe.
So, Jacoba been telling everybody to have their to-go bag. How long now? To be stocked up and to have your passport, to be ready, because why? Because you might have to what? Come on now, you might have to what? Flee? Now the Europeans are telling you to do the same thing. Why? Because you might have to what? Flee? Oh, but it's the gathering. It's the second Exodus, Jacoba. Fleeing and the gathering and the second Exodus is not the same thing. See, all I got to do from now on is be quiet, because everything I said seems to be coming to pass. I ain't got to say nothing no more.
Believe me, that's a real video. Hadja Labib shared it on X. She is the European Commissioner for Preparedness and Crisis Management. She is the driving force behind this plan, and it does not stop at survival kits. In future, the EU wants to have a National Preparedness Day. They haven't locked a date yet, but the plan is grand and exhaustive. Preparedness will become a part of the school curriculum. Europe feels it's an absolute must. Although most people would consider these measures extreme. They're asking 450 million people to keep emergency kits at home with stockpiles of canned food and toilet paper. Is Europe really heading into a war, or is this just fear-mongering? The trigger, of course, is the situation in Ukraine. Europe increasingly feels that it is at risk, that the threat of a conflict is higher. Different member countries are working on their own plans too, like France. This summer, all French citizens will get a manual, a survival manual, outlining clear and detailed steps, like what to do if a war or any major crisis breaks out. In fact, Belgium already has a website for its citizens. It has a list of items, things that every household should keep in an emergency pack. Germany and Poland have gone a step further. They have asked families to upgrade cellars, garages, or storerooms as bunkers. Homes in Poland are already doing this. One EU leader compared this to accident insurance. Listen to what they said.
All right, so Europe is wanting their people to be prepared, have their to-go bags, have some extra food, extra water, have some money, some cash on hand, right? Get ready to leave if you have to leave. Why? Because they know that war is coming. It's not an if, it's a when. Now, let me get you to understand something. Do you really want to understand why the immigration issue is so big right now, and why they're so harsh on the people coming into the country, and why they're sending people to Guantanamo and to El Salvador? Do you want to know why they're checking your iPhones and your Androids and your laptops at the airport and scanning them and taking them from you? And, you know, they might be putting some kind of bot on there or something as well. The reason why they're doing all these things is because we're in a state of war and we're going into a hot war. And because we're going into a hot war, America is under what you might classify as a training program, a real world training program. And what do I mean by that? I mean that they are putting the TSA, they're putting ICE on the borders. Why? Because once we have a declared war against Iran, Russia, China, whatever, The borders are going to be locked down. People are going to be sent who they think are enemies of the state are going to be sent to the camps. Right? Everybody's been waiting for the concentration camps. Well, they're called detention facilities. It's here. They're getting you ready for war in the United States and around the world. And so this is why they're getting you used to the process right now. They're getting you used to being stopped on the street by ICE agents with masks on, with no badge. Undercover cops. Can we say KGB? Y'all remember the Cold War. The ICE agents are the new KGB. They are the new Nazis. They are the new brown shirts. As a matter of fact, what I'm saying right now is going to become more and more challenged and oppressed. As a matter of fact, I hope you're ready, because most of these channels, like mine, probably won't be here soon. You're going to have the little channels that tell you the propaganda side. You're going to have the channels that tell you, stay right here, buckle down. Don't worry. It's all going to be okay. You're going to have the channels that's going to tell you to stay, not the channels that tell you to flee. And that's what's happening, right? As I stated before, in my opinion, like I say, eat the meat, spit out the bones. Ain't no time left. What does that mean, Jacobo, when you say there's no time left? What I mean is the oppressive side where nobody can... Look, we're already here. I mean, most people, there's a lot of people already leaving the country. There's a lot of people say we're in a fascist state. I showed you the video. There's a lot of people who say the Constitution no longer applies. I'm not the only one.
Trump's executive order could change America's history forever. Trump just signed an executive order that could redefine how America views its past, and it's sparking heated debate nationwide. The order targets the Smithsonian and national monuments, aiming to remove divisive ideologies that Trump believes have distorted America's history. He's pushing to stop exhibits that suggest American values are harmful or that race-based systems have shaped the country. This move could change the way we teach future generations about American history, values, and identity. From the monuments we honor to the stories we tell, this order could reshape how we see our nation's past. But it's not just about removing certain narratives. Trump's efforts to restore removed monuments and launch the National Garden of American Heroes project are meant to instill national pride and celebrate American achievements. However, this could reignite fierce debates over which parts of our past should be remembered and who deserves to be celebrated. So, will this order unite the nation or drive us further apart? What do you think? Let's talk about it in the comments below.
So, Trump has another executive order. And that executive order that he signed is called Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. He's directing the removal of what he terms divisive narratives and improper ideology from the Smithsonian institutions, museums, and programs. Can we say hiding slavery, hiding Jim Crow era, hiding white supremacy and oppression of the Israelites, the Negroes, the descendants of slaves? The order assigns Vice President J.D. Vance, a member of the Smithsonian's Board of Regents, to oversee this initiative across what? All Smithsonian entities, including museums, education and research centers, and national zoos. You're in the fascist state. Welcome to Nazi 2.0. The executive order specifically criticizes certain exhibits and institutions such as the National Museum of African American History. Oh, you mean critical race theory? That's what they call it, right? And culture, and the forthcoming Smithsonian American Women's History Museum, for promoting narratives that the administration views as divisive or inconsistent with American values. In other words, we only want the good things. Don't talk about the dirt that we've done and that we're doing. Welcome to the Cold War. Welcome to the Soviet America. For instance, he points to an exhibit at the Smithsonian American Art Museum that discusses the role of race in American sculpture, suggesting that such content portrays American and Western values as inherently harmful and oppressive. Is it not? Is it a lie? Is it not true that they, murdered that and you know what else? Furthermore, the order calls for the reinstatement of monuments and statues that have been removed or altered since January 1st, 2020, particularly those related to what? Confederate figures. It mandates improvements to Independence Hall in Philadelphia by July 4th, 2026, in preparation for the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. This action is part of a broader effort by the Trump administration to influence cultural institutions and public narratives following similar interventions at the JFK Center for Performing Arts. Can we say hide the Negro history in America? What do you think gonna happen when they try to hide all of this history in the museums? All of these histories that's in the textbooks that they removed from the schools. I told you what they were doing. What are they going to do when they hide those things and then they say, Negroes, you descendants of slaves, you can no longer even talk about it because it is fake news. It's going to be illegal for you to talk about your own history, the history of your grandma and your grandpa and your mommy and your daddies, and how they were oppressed by D. Whitman. Talking about segregation and the need for civil rights, which you will no longer have. Civil rights will be removed from the laws. Why? People are not going to follow it anyway. But guess what? Guess what? You're not going to flee, are you? That's what I was told. I was told that Jacob was teaching fear doctrine. But how is this administration going to hide and remove critical race theory, hide and remove our history from the textbooks, hide and remove our history from the museums, hide and remove slavery or the dirt that America has done and allow you to live here? Think about it for a second. If the goal is to hide our history because we identify our history because we're here, we still bring to remembrance what they have done to us by our very existence here in this land. You got one or two things that's going to happen. They're going to give us our check and tell us to get the heck out. Oh, you know the other option. Nazi 2.0. I'm not exaggerating this.
Greenland for national security and international security. I think we'll go as far as we have to go. We need Greenland, and the world needs us to have Greenland, including Denmark. Denmark has to have us have Greenland. If you look at the ships outside of Greenland, China, Russia, places that we have to be there. We need Greenland.
So this dude's serious about taking Greenland. And Greenland like, nah, you're not coming here. You're not taking Jack. And Trump like, yes, we are. And if we got to use our military, we coming for you. We don't care what Denmark says. We don't care what Europe says. We don't care what the European Union says about any of this. because the 10 will hate the whore and burn her with fire.
Has just threatened the United States of America. Macron says if the U.S. tries to annex Greenland, the French Navy will stop them. Trump reiterated yesterday that the U.S. needs Greenland and it's no longer an option. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is on the side of the U.S. and says that NATO will not get involved in any matters between the U.S. and Greenland. So that's when France stepped in and said any attack on an EU nation would result in the French coming to protect them. Denmark, who owns Greenland, has also sent naval vessels out to patrol the coast. Last month, Trump sent his son and other conservative representatives to visit the island. And today, the vice president and his wife are making a very controversial visit. Trump has hinted in the past that an annexation of Greenland could come militarily. And by the way, Russian and Chinese warships have already been circling the northern coast. Macron says that the French Navy is more than prepared to defend Greenland against the United States, and even says the French might already put troops in Greenland to prepare against such an invasion. He says the French army is strong, ready, and prepared to defend any European nation against any threats, including the U.S.
Is this crazy or what? It don't make no sense. But it does make sense. This is called order out of chaos. This is the implementation of the New World Order, and you're one bomb away from that. One major chaos from that. One global shutdown of the economic system from that. One cyber attack away from the New World Order system. I told you things are not going back to normal. There is no longer any normal because America and the world are under judgment. And we're not the only ones who realize it.
It's a sort of running joke in some circles. Celebrities saying, if so-and-so wins the presidency, I'm leaving the United States. Those celebrities often don't leave. But we are seeing an actual uptick now in the rich and famous leaving the United States. One article says they're fleeing faster than ever before. I'm going to talk about why. I'm going to talk about where they're going. And I'm going to talk about why I think they're going to the wrong place.
I find that very, very, very interesting. Did he use the word flee? Did I hear that correct, family? Did he say the rich folks in America are what, fleeing? Did he really? Did I hear that? You mean the exact same thing that Tell Ministries has been saying that the Bible said? Could it be true? But that's okay. It's flee doctrine. Remember that. When everybody else going away and everybody else is leaving and everybody else is getting their passports and everybody else is getting the heck out of Dodge and the rich folks are leaving first. Y'all remember that. I taught flee doctrine, so keep your tail here. I don't want to see none of y'all on them planes. I don't want to see none of y'all on them boats. I want to make sure that you stay here. Because you say I was teaching flee doctrine. You make sure you stay right here. Jacob don't know what he's talking about. But they said the rich are fleeing. I'm just saying. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm ready to leave too. I'm just waiting on the Most High. I told you I am in a state of expectation. I'm just looking for the open door so I can walk through it. That's how I live. I look for the open door. As I've stated before, one or two things are going to happen if you can see what's going on. Either the Israelites are going to go through another inquisition, because it sure look like it's about to happen. or the Most High is getting us out of here, he gonna say, look, y'all got to roll, because if you stay here, the plague's gonna fall on you. That's what the Bible says. Flee so that the plagues don't fall on you. The plagues are here. The mark of the beast is in its infancy here. The great deception is here. They're formulating. Can't you see it? There isn't much time left, in my opinion. If you can't see that, I feel sorry for you, because Trump is making threats against Iran. And they're making war plans against Yemen. And they're making plans against you here in the States. But you say, ain't no fleeing. It's together. I'm just saying, that's what y'all keep telling me. But there ain't no time left. That's my opinion. That's my opinion, because there's so many prophecies happening right now, all at one time. So many revelations coming to pass right now. So many truths being revealed, and so many lies are being exposed. And, you know, I even tell people in my family, which they don't do it. I say, look, just go read Jeremiah 50. Just go read Jeremiah 51. Just go read 2nd Ezra 15. I don't even give them Isaiah. I say, if you do that, you'll get an idea what's going on. But nobody wants to do it. Why? Because they're under the spell of Babylon. They're under the spell of what? The Wizard of Oz. They don't see the man behind the curtain. I guess Toto gonna have to come and open the curtain so they can see him. Because there's no time left. I'm sorry. And as I stated, I hate to tell y'all, Gentiles, they setting up the captivity for you. Y'all might want to contact Brother Karras and get that anti-captivity spray. I'm just joking. I'm just having fun. But the rich are fleeing. And anything can happen at any moment at this point. That's where we're at. Anything can happen at any moment. And this is why they're telling their people get 72 hours worth of food and water. Be honest with you, you need at least 3 weeks or a month worth of food. The problem is life change, people move, and things spoil. Hurricanes happen, floods happen, and you lose your foodstuffs. Believe me, I've been there. I've been preparing for all of this stuff for years, and guess what? Some of the stuff get old, some of the stuff sit there, and sometimes you move and you can't take it with you. Well, fam, that's all I got. Hope y'all enjoy your Shabbat. If you want to support this ministry, you can by becoming a patron. You can also support by giving Cash App. See on the screen, Brother Yexa posted, $TOTW7101. You can also buy my book. Understand, and I'm going to say this, just my opinion, take it for what you want. I got a good track record in my opinion. You ain't got no time left. That's my opinion. I'm not trying to make you scared. You ain't got no time left. This be the time of change. This be the year of change. In my opinion, there's too many prophecies happening all at once. Too many. We're at that stage. We're at that stage, family. And understand this. When they come out and they show you this fake Ark of the Covenant and they do what they're going to do with the red heifer and they talk about this Dome of the Rock stuff and all that stuff, don't believe none of it. It ain't true. That's not the land. That's not the people. And the prophecies that the most you're going to get in that land is the false prophecy of the false Christ and the false prophet. That's what you're going to get. The mark of the beast is already set to go. Everything's set to go. I don't know what's waiting other than our getting the heck out of Dodge. That's what I'm expecting. Like I say, I'm not a prophet. I can't give you no time of day, year, month, whatever. I just know it's near, even at the door, because I can see the signs. I can see that the weather's changing. It looks like it's going to rain. That's the most I could tell you. It looks like it's going to rain. Them birth pains are getting closer. All of the prophecies are happening all at one time. Ethnic group against ethnic group, kingdom against kingdom, earthquakes, pestilences, diseases, all of this stuff all at the same time. I'm like, okay, what's left? What's left for the prophecies? Us getting the heck out of here, fleeing. And then after that, going to be the second Exodus from the four corners. That's the way I see it. And that's what I'm going to stick with until I see something different. You do you. I'm going to do me. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love you with the love of the Messiah. And please make sure you pray for this ministry and for everyone else, because these be some trying times.